Craig Brandon, before we look ahead to the second quarter for Munis, why don't you sum up what happened in the first quarter? Because there was some volatility there.
Right, we saw a little bit of volatility in the first quarter due to a lot of bond issuance. Last year, 2014, was a very good year for Munis. Part of the reason it was a good year was because there was not a lot of issuance. There was some built-up issuance. So I think we saw some of that in 2015, which created a little bit of volatility in the muni market.
Now, was it refinancings or was this new issuance? Because that's been a factor here.
It has been. It's primarily been refinancing. We haven't seen a lot of new issuance. The primary amount of issuance has been mostly refinancings in the first quarter.
So where are we with regard to valuations since we're moving through Q2 right now?
Right. Compared to Treasuries, Munis are pretty cheap. You're looking at behind 100% yield compared to Treasuries, which is usually an indicator that Munis are cheap. So both on the 10-year part of the curve and on the 30-year part of the curve, you're seeing Munis yields more than 100% of Treasuries, which historically has been very cheap for Munis.
Well, you're getting a whole lot of yield if you own Puerto Rico paper. This has come into the headlines again. You're seeing the federal government send people to help out Puerto Rico. Do you own any Puerto Rico bonds? Any interest in them?
We're very light in Puerto Rico. I think we've been negative on Puerto Rico for the last couple of years. They have some tremendous liquidity issues that they're dealing with right now, and they have some very big decisions they need to make in the next couple of weeks, if not next couple of months. So we think that going forward, there's going to be some more volatility in Puerto Rico, and although there probably will be an entry point, we don't think there's an entry point right now.
Meanwhile, here in the continental United States, you're seeing problems in Chicago and Illinois. Rahm Emanuel won his mayoral election. That said, the city and the state still have tremendous credit problems. What does this mean to municipal bond fund managers? Are you in there, and what does it say about what's going on in the rest of the country?
It is a little bit of an indicator for the rest of the country, although muni credit overall is still fairly strong. I think what you're seeing is the pension issue come to a forefront in Chicago and Illinois. There's a couple other states, primarily New Jersey, that have some issues with pension funds, but you're going to really see the issue come to the forefront in Chicago and in Illinois. And I think that that's their primary issue. If they could get their pension issue solved, I think that Illinois and Chicago are very vibrant economies.
So you think Rahm getting reelected, that's a good first step?
I think it's a good first step. I think he's very pro-pension reform, which may not be very popular in the Democratic Party and very popular in Chicago. But I think that they need to have some kind of pension reform to have a chance to make their budget work.
And then finally, what do you prefer in the Eaton Vance Municipal Bond Fund? Do you like GOs or do you like revenue bonds?
We're looking primarily at revenue bonds, but again, everything comes down to where it's priced and what's cheap out there. When you're talking about places like Illinois, when you're talking about places like New Jersey, when you're looking at the GOs, it's not really an issue of if they're going to default. There's not a default issue there. It's at what price do they become attractive and when do you buy them. So we like revenue bonds right now, but if they get cheap enough, general obligations will be a great opportunity.
All right, thanks a lot, Craig.
You're welcome.